The billionaire had already spent $3 million trying to fix the machine. 27 of the smartest engineers in the country had examined it. 2 international technology firms had sent specialists. A university professor had flown in from Europe. They had replaced circuits, rewritten software, rebuilt components, and spent 12 sleepless nights searching for an answer. Nothing worked. Then, in the middle of the most important demonstration of the billionaire's career, the machine suddenly went completely dead. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at the billionaire. And then, from the doorway, a poor maid carrying a tray of coffee quietly said something that made every expert turn around. She had seen the problem. And she could fix it. In 1 minute. Before we begin this emotional story, if you believe that kindness, second chances, and a person's heart matter more than money or status, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind us that sometimes the person everyone overlooks is the person who sees what everyone else has missed. The story began on a cold Monday morning in a massive glass and steel headquarters overlooking downtown Chicago. The building belonged to Adrian Vail, a 48-year-old billionaire whose name appeared regularly on magazine covers and business channels. He was the founder and chief executive of Vail Advanced Systems, a company that designed artificial intelligence equipment for hospitals, emergency centers, and research laboratories around the world. His success had transformed him from a young engineer working in a rented garage into one of the wealthiest men in America. But on that particular morning, money could not solve his problem. The machine standing inside the company's private research laboratory was called the Helix Response System. It was designed to process enormous amounts of medical information in seconds and help emergency doctors identify dangerous conditions before a patient's symptoms became irreversible. If it worked, it could change modern emergency medicine. Hospitals could use it to identify strokes, internal bleeding, cardiac emergencies, and other life-threatening conditions much faster than traditional systems. Adrian had invested years of his life into it. More importantly, he had invested his heart. The project had been inspired by his younger sister, Emily, who had died years earlier after doctors struggled to identify a rare condition in time. Adrian had never forgiven himself for not being able to help her. Building the Helix Response System had become more than a business project. It was his attempt to make sure another family would never have to experience the helplessness he had felt that night. For nearly 5 years, Adrian had surrounded himself with the best minds money could buy. Yet for the past 12 days, the machine had refused to function properly. It would start. It would process data. Then, exactly 47 seconds later, it would shut down. The engineers had tested everything they could think of. They checked the operating system. They replaced the processor. They examined the cooling system. They tested the electrical supply. They even dismantled portions of the machine and rebuilt them. Still, after 47 seconds, the system stopped. The morning demonstration was supposed to be Adrian's final chance to prove the technology worked before a group of investors and hospital representatives. If the demonstration failed, the company could lose hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts. Inside the laboratory, 27 experts stood around the enormous silver machine. Screens covered the walls. Cables ran across the floor. Technicians moved nervously between computers. Adrian stood at the center wearing a dark charcoal suit, his expression controlled but his eyes exhausted. At exactly 9 o'clock, the demonstration began. The system powered on. A low mechanical hum filled the room. Data appeared across the screens. For a moment, everything looked perfect. Then the countdown began. 40 seconds. 41. 42. Adrian stared at the main display. 43. 44. 45. 46. 47. The entire system went black. No alarms. No warning. Just silence. One of the senior engineers immediately rushed toward the control panel. Another opened his laptop. A third began checking the power readings. The investors exchanged worried glances. Adrian did not move. He simply stared at the dead machine. He had seen this happen 11 times before. But this time was different. This time, there were people watching. People who had trusted him. People who had invested money because he promised them this machine would work. One investor quietly closed his folder. Another checked his phone. Adrian felt his stomach tighten. Then someone accidentally knocked over a coffee cup. The sound seemed strangely loud in the silent laboratory. That was when a woman entered through the side door. Her name was Elena. She was 39 years old. She worked as a cleaning maid at the building. She wore a simple navy blue uniform, black shoes, and a gray cardigan because the laboratory was always cold. Her dark hair was tied neatly at the back, and her hands showed the small signs of years spent working, rough fingertips, tiny scratches, and faint lines from cleaning chemicals. Nobody important ever noticed Elena. She arrived before most employees. She cleaned conference rooms after executives left. She emptied waste bins. She wiped fingerprints from glass doors. She made coffee when the kitchen staff were overwhelmed. She was invisible in a building filled with powerful people. But Elena had learned something during her years of working there. Invisible did not mean unaware. She had noticed things. She had heard things. And she remembered things. As she pushed her cleaning cart into the laboratory, she immediately sensed something was wrong. Nobody was moving normally. Nobody was speaking.